I just wanted to read from Revelations chapter 5, beginning in verse 4 today. It starts with a scroll being found in heaven that would describe future events, but no one is able to open it. And this is John's response. He says, I wept and wept because no one was found who was worthy to open the scroll or look inside. Then one of the elders said to me, Do not weep. See, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the Root of David, has triumphed. He is able to open the scrolls and its seven seals. Then I saw a lamb looking as if it had been slain, standing at the center of the throne, encircling the four living creatures and the elders. The lamb had 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God sent out into all the earth. He went and took the scroll from the right hand of him who sat on the throne. And when he had taken it, the four living creatures and the 24 elders fell down before the lamb. Each one had a harp, and they were holding golden bowls full of incense, which are the prayers of God's people. And they sang a new song, saying, You are worthy to take the scroll and open its seals, because you were slain. And with your blood you purchased for God persons from every tribe and language and people and nation. You have made them to be a kingdom and priests to serve our God, and they will reign on the earth. Then I looked and heard the voice of many angels, numbering thousands upon thousands, and 10,000 times 10,000. They encircled the throne of the living creatures and the elders. In a loud voice they were saying, Worthy is the Lamb who was slain to receive power and wealth and wisdom and strength and honor and glory and praise. Then I heard a creature in heaven and on earth and all in the sea and all that is in them, saying, To him who sits on the throne and to the Lamb be praise and honor and glory and power forever and ever. The four living creatures said, Amen. And the elders fell down and worshiped. And as I was reading this passage, I was struck by something that I've seen of late, whether it's looking at articles on Facebook or talking with other pastors and church leaders about how to um, have good services and um, stay connected with one another in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic. It strikes me that we're in very great danger of missing the most important part of worship. We've asked, are people staying connected? Are we able to continue to uh, have regular giving and contact with our people? But in the midst of all of it, have we missed the most important thing? For you see, a worship service is not directly for us. We are not meant to be the audience in a worship service. Who is the audience in a worship service? It's God. He is the one who is to be receiving the work of the people, as worship is often called. He is the one who is to be the primary beneficiary of our meeting together. And so I think something that's come more and more to light in the midst of this pandemic is something that was actually a problem before it started. And that is too oftentimes we are making ourselves or fellow congregants the point of the worship service. And this is a grave error. When I read that passage in Revelation, it's in there that we see with great clarity what it means to worship God. We are we are not showing up to do God a favor in worship. In worship, we show up to participate in the world as it is, to acknowledge God at the center on the throne, to acknowledge Christ's presence with him, the Lamb who was slain, who at the very same time is the Lion of Judah, both a lamb and a lion. This is reality. And what we see happening today in our world and the things that so occupy our minds are nothing in comparison to that reality. God is on his throne, is the point of our worship. It's the reason why throughout history, in the midst of the darkest times, the focus of worship was not on what was taking place in that day. It was not on the fall of Rome or the conquering Muslim nations that surrounded them. It was not about the bubonic plague. It was about worshiping. C.S. Lewis talks about the reality of a bicycle as an illustrative point in how we as human beings work in the world. He says there's four phases that we go through. A young child, before they have any understanding about a bike, live in an unenchanted relationship with that bike. They see it as part of the world, but they don't see it as something that affects them. They're unenchanted. Then they reach a certain age and a certain ability, and the bike becomes enchanted. They learn to balance themselves on the bike and to pedal the bike, and they experience the joy and the freedom of whisking down the road. Then, after a season, when they have become used to riding on a bike, it becomes a chore. It's no longer something to be enjoyed, it's a means to an end, something to be endured, even. But then, for some people, there is what's called a re enchantment when they are returned to that first joy they had when they learned to ride a bike. And you see, the reality is in that first moment. It's when a person discovers their ability to manipulate this object and have great control and to experience the world in a different way. And if it's true of a bike, how much more true is it of our relationship with God? When we first encounter God and He meets us and we become enchanted, we can't stop talking about Jesus and what He's done for us. But over time, we get used to Him. We get used to having Him around and what He's done for us to the point where things that used to bring us great joy, attending a worship service or a Bible study, or fellowshipping with believers, all of a sudden, or gradually over time, becomes a chore. Dear people, reality hasn't changed. We have become lazy, blind. But the good news is we can be re-enchanted. We can see again all of the good things that Christ is to us. We can remind ourselves of the joy of being His. That's what this passage in Revelation reminds me of. God is on His throne. The Lamb is worthy of all praise, not just because of what He's done for us, but because of who He is. I trust this blesses you today.